I've always liked the concept of werewolves, and I've frequently enjoyed watching movies like Dog Soldiers and The Howling, but I never thought I'd see one for myself. This was a brief encounter, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not quite sure if it even occurred, or it was just my imagination playing tricks on me at the time. Either way, the fear was real. I live in South Australia. The year was 2016, and I was a year 6 in primary school. We had our first class camp at Illawonga, located at Swan Reach on the River Murray, which was a 2-hour drive from Adelaide. The bus ride there was taxing, and I remember not wanting to leave my mom behind. As a girl, I was quite attached to my mom, practically joined at the hip. If I'm being honest, even as a 20-year-old woman now, I sometimes still am. But back then, my anxiety was palpable. I only had one good friend, and upon arrival, we were paired off in different groups, so I wasn't able to share a dorm with her. Instead, I was on my own with a group of girls I knew and disliked. On the bright side, I got an entire bunk to myself, situating my belongings on the top whilst I situated myself on the bottom. My bunk was positioned against a wall, parallel to the door leading into the main hall, and horizontal to a door leading to the outside. Unfortunately, my dorm mates and I later discovered the door to the outside was faulty, the lock having been broken, which caused the door to creak open by itself every now and again. I didn't feel like that since there was nothing but dense forest and vast bushland on the other side. Just knowing the lock didn't lock, I knew I wasn't going to be getting a lot of sleep that night. So, we decided to press a chair up against it as a temporary solution. Like any kid attached to their mother, I was homesick, and that night, I spent nearly a whole hour on the phone until lights out. There was an awning window right above my head, giving me a clear view of the sky. It was clear and quiet, the silence so loud I was unable to rest. Restless, I glanced at my phone to find it was around 1 o'clock a.m. in the morning. At this rate, I thought I might never sleep. And as if the night couldn't get any worse, my stomach dropped at the sound of the door creaking open, the door to the outside. I stiffened in my bunk. One of the girls must have moved the chair and forgot to put it back. And since everyone else was fast asleep, there was no one else but me to move it back. As a girl, I was afraid of the dark, or more specifically, what was in it. So, you could only imagine the pounding of my heart as my feet slowly carried me toward the door. It was beating so hard, I thought it might burst out of my chest. Instead, it felt like it had stopped beating altogether once I caught a glimpse of a dark mass through the crack between the door and the frame. It was dark, so it took a second for my eyes to adjust. But as soon as they had, I froze like a deer in headlights. The first thing that popped into my mind upon seeing it, a Hollywood werewolf. Dog Soldiers. The Howling. Bad Moon. It was standing right there in front of me, hunched over as it appeared to have been sniffing the brush for something. The figure, dark in color and covered in, not fur, but hair. Its ears were pointed at the top of its head, and its legs backward bent. And its head, it reminded me of a German shepherd's, but twice as big. Just looking at it, there was no doubt in my mind. That thing was a werewolf. After being stunned into shock at the sight of it, I finally managed to get myself to move, and I attempted to slowly push the door to a close again. But it creaked, and the creature immediately snapped its head toward me, rising to its full height. It must have been at least 7 to 8 feet tall, its body muscular, like that of a bodybuilder, its limbs burly and elongated with hands similar to that of a raccoon's. Slim fingers ending in claws the length of steel nails. And its eyes, they reminded me of a hyena's, the way they reflect the light which hits them. The thing looked even more terrifying than the movies themselves, and it took everything inside me not to scream. It was when the creature snarled at me baring its sharp K9s through its protruding snout upon letting out a guttural growl that I finally just pushed the door shut, frantically positioning the chair against it to jam the knob. I immediately scurried back to my bunk and threw the blanket over my head, hiding beneath it as if it were made of impenetrable stone. I stayed under there for what felt like hours until, eventually, I pulled the blanket down, and nothing. The door was still jammed shut, and I heard only silence from the other side. And considering I was still alive, and the creature felt no need to give chase, I suppose I wasn't its ideal prey. Fortunately, I glanced up at the window above my head, the sky having shifted since I last gazed out of it. It was a crescent moon that night. So, whatever it was that I had seen couldn't have been your typical Hollywood werewolf. I'm an adult now, and looking back on this, I can't help but wonder whether it truly was just my imagination or possibly a nightmare. Maybe it was. However, on the off chance that it wasn't, I began looking into similar sightings. And I recently discovered that these creatures are out there, and they go by a different name, the Dogman, and I was unlucky enough to have seen one. Yet somehow, a part of me, no matter how misguided, aches to see it again.